Yeah, it's you can't win them all if you don't win the first one. So we'll take it one step at a time. But kind of a long night in a hard-fought battle. Really tip our hats to Morgan State, with the kind of week that they've had. It's unimaginable to try to prepare, to take a road trip and to play your first game under the circumstances that they're in right now. And they're a classy group, and ton of respect for their program and how they played today. No question about it. I felt as though, to be honest with you, I think when we went up 21-7, saw a lot of our guys feeling pretty good. And we're not good enough to ever really feel good. But when we're hungry and we've got energy and we're really going after something together, then we're going to be proud of our team. And so that was a hard lesson to learn, because it was a snap of a finger and it was 21-21. And obviously it was a very hard-fought game. Blocking a punt for a touchdown is a really big deal, and it's something that we work on and talk about a lot. So that was super exciting. And then, the turnovers, it was 0-0 forever, and we finally wrestled one out there at the end, which, we weren't able to convert on that. However, it did have a significant impact on the clock, and I think even just on some momentum. So proud of our guys. Has the gap closed some? Probably a little bit, but there's plenty of gap left. So we'll keep working. So happy to answer any questions.
We'll start at the end. Question: after you came back from the weather delay, clock management seemed like you all went to a little bit of a hurry-up offense there. What was the idea behind that?
Well, we feel as though that we were running tempo early on as well. We'd get there and we'd run power and would even reload our same play and just and keep bringing it. We felt as though that had been successful for us at times in the first half as well. And then right before the weather delay, if you remember, we had, I think, the ball on the 1-yard line and got out to the 30 with tempo. And so, we want to figure out how they were going to try to stop that and want to make sure that they did have a plan for that. So we went right back to it. I think that we warmed down a little bit. We got some big fellows up front, and going fast and running power is tough on a defense. So that's why we did it.
Coach, what was the decision to make Brogan go back in the second half? Take a second drive for the second half. Was the injury with Reggie Hill?
Yeah, it's not a serious thing at all. I mean, I think that Reggie would have been able to come back in, but so not a serious injury. But there came a point where Reggie was not going to, he was being looked at and treated. So we had Brogan go in, and so much of that is just gut too, with momentum and how things are going. And so, we'll sit there and analyze the tapes and talk about everything. But, I think Coach felt really good with Brogan from that point.
So would you have been healthy, you still would have made the switch then? Or?
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. It was because of the injury.
Did it alter the play calling strategy at all once Brogan got in? We saw a lot more passes to Dustin Creel.
Yeah, no, it's not, we don't have a, how do I say this? When you run an offense, the most effective passing games are when you take what people give you. Defenses can say that we're going to take this away, we're going to give this up and whatnot. And so very rarely is it a personnel deal, unless you get man, that you're trying to go to somebody. You have to read the coverage and take what they give you. You have to apply the offense to the defense. And sometimes, honestly, you're throwing a green, a green helmet, that the guy's going to be open, not who's wearing the helmet. Now, there's time man-to-man where you've got to make a choice. So does the play calling change a little bit? We were running power with Reggie early on as well, too. That's just something that we feel as though our offensive line, is good at. Reggie, we gave a little bit more option reads, and some of the things you don't see because we call them RPOs. You got to run pass option. So, and he was handing the ball off, a bunch on those, where you saw on some of the bubble screens, Brogan was choosing to throw it. So there's a little bit difference. They're different players. So.
Did you get a sense of when Reggie got shaken up
No, it was, sort of a lower leg deal. It wasn't that. But it was a good hit, you know, he wasn't smiling getting up.
Coach, is there a reason why we had 3 players wear number 1 and number 8 on the official roster? I heard, some rumors that, Quincy Jones and Darius Scott might be in trouble. Is there any truth to that?
I'm not gonna comment about that right now. But numbers is tough because everybody wants a single digit. Everybody, including Mike Steele, one of our interior defensive linemen, right? And, when I think we first started out, we did it with O and D. But when those offensive and defensive skill players are on special teams, you run into issues. And so, honestly, much later than we should have, we figured out that we were going to have, double numbers out on the field. So that's why the roster has been changed, here in the last week.
Can you tell me a little about Pat O'Connor's day, just how impressive an effort he had? He seemed to be just flying to the ball. Every big play, it seemed like his hand was in on it.
He's really good. And, voted team captain as a junior. He brings some energy. He just loves the game. He loves everything about it. He's got an infectious energy about him. He's just a really good football player. Defensively, there were times, where there didn't seem to be as much energy, defensively. And it's impossible to play this game without passion and energy. It doesn't mean that you're emotional in a way that you don't know what you're doing, and it's not just hype and all that, but and he's a guy that he's our leader, and I think he showed that today.
That strip he made, that technique that you kind of preach, just that strip when guys wrapped up, kind of talk about that play specifically.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't see it, but from what I understand, yeah, he ripped it out of the kid's hand. So yeah, we worked really hard on turnovers, and it was 0-0, like I said, forever, but that ended up being a big one.
You talked before the season about special teams, kind of came through a big wave here tonight. You said that was maybe the most advanced unit kind of going into the season. Kind of talk about what they were able to kind of come up with tonight, throughout the night, coverage, blocks, everything.
Well, first of all, Coach Keene runs our special teams, and I think he's a fantastic football coach. And he's got it written up on his board, and I think he lives this when coaching the special teams. He says simple, but not simplistic. So we want our guys, we don't want to get too cute or creative with the special teams. We want our guys to know what they're doing and to be able to play fast. But at the same time, we don't want to just line up the same way in a real base formation every single time. We don't want to be simplistic, but we want our guys to be able to play fast and play hard. And I just think he's done a terrific job getting those organized and setting the tone. So it's going to be fun to watch the tape on the block punt. We tell our guys it's one of the best and worst sounds in football. When it's foot hand. And then the guys I know they're going to be, just going nuts about the fact that we scooped and scored. Because often you are so excited about the fact that there's the ball and there's the end zone, guys fall on the ball. Well, when you block a punt, you never fall on the ball. It's your ball no matter what. You need to advance it. And so we had a couple scrimmages where we didn't do it correctly. And so it's been a point of emphasis. So the fact that we got a punt block and a scoop and score today is like a big deal. So it's fun.
You mentioned the defensive intensity, giving up almost 500 yards for the game. What are a couple of key things that you expect to be working on with the defense in the coming week?
Well, first I'll say that, the energy that, everybody is responsible for themselves. But it's a team. And so the leaders are the guys that, themselves is a given, and then they're able to influence and impact the people around them, like we were talking about with Pat, O'Connor. And so I'm saying all that to say that our sidelines, everything was a learning day. This is the first time doing it, If we have guys, with their helmet off, with their hand on their hip, watching the game, sucking on some Gatorade, that just sucks life out of the guys that are out there on the field. But when guys are into it and energized and believing and helping and communicating and all that on the sideline, it creates a completely different atmosphere. So I'm not putting all that on the defense. I mean, we talked to guys at halftime. There's 100 of us or so out there. But the story of that to me is the fact that after the halftime, I thought that there was a difference, that they responded to it. That's what it's all about. I mean, always going to be far from perfect. You figure out what it is and you make a change. And I think sometimes people make changes after the game, right? But to be able to change, like an emotional and a mentality during the game, that's often hard to do, but our guys did that. I mean, we gave up some big plays, defensively. And just talking quickly with Coach McCaslin, I think there's a couple of alignment issues. I mean, so much of defense is getting aligned correctly. And for people who, haven't spent a ton of time with the game, if you are a yard inside or outside, even in the secondary, or whether you're at 7 yards versus 8, as a corner, or 9 yards to 8. I mean, all of those are a really big deal. And so we had some alignment issues. Broke contain a couple times. Obviously, we had 2 people run into the flat, when the kid got by him on the long play there. A couple missed tackles. I mean, we all got to get better, but everything are things that we can fix.
Did you just say today that some tough issues were overcommitting to the quarterback when he was obviously mobile? That gave you problems at all?
I think he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a good player. I mean, sometimes you just, you never want to make that an excuse. I promise you that. But I mean, he's a good player. It's a good job. I thought that back ran really hard, and made people miss. So, yeah, we got to get better at it.
Coach, looking ahead to next week, assuming Reggie Bell's leg is all better and he's 100%, are we looking at Bell as a starter again next week, or is that decision not
I mean, he was our starter coming into the game, and so our second string quarterback went in, when he sustained his injury. Now he was able to come back, and we stayed with Brogan, and so I imagine we'll be spending a lot of time tomorrow, not only watching the film but talking about it. So I have no idea at this point who the starter would be, next week. But I understand your question.
With the backs, how'd you go about rotating? Seemed like you had a good feel for it. Was it, did you have kind of a plan, or how'd you kind of get those guys in and out? What was kind of the philosophy behind it?
Well, you always want to accentuate your strengths, and we are very fortunate. We have we're deep at running back, and we're deep not only with numbers or with talent, but with experienced talent. I mean, the hard yards. I mean, Darius Jackson. He was tough to tackle. And you're talking about some 3rd and 4th downs, and just power where he was moving people and moving piles, and I mean, it was impressive. So, he didn't come out with the most yards, and I bet you could care less, but I mean, some really, really hard-earned yards. And then Brummy, he's like twinkle toes out there. I mean, it was just like, wow, Brummy, leapt over the kid and scored 2 touchdowns, and I mean, that's a senior running back who's really good. So just really, really happy for him. And then, I'm reading the stat sheet, and Bronson Hill was our leading rusher. I don't know that I would have thought that he was, to be honest with you. I mean, I can tell you honestly, I wouldn't have thought that he was our leading rusher today. So one of the things, as you saw, we're running with some tempo, and so you really can't sub when you're running in tempo, because then the referee or the umpire steps over the ball and allows for the defense to sub. And so a lot of the game, it was sort of irregardless of who was in there at running back, we were going to run the offense. And if a guy needed to spill, then we either told him to suck it up because we needed to keep running tempo, or we would find a break and get somebody else in there.
Didn't see a lot of deep passes today. I think the average was just over 3 yards per attempt for your 2 quarterbacks. And
Yeah.
Do you feel that's more a reflection of just what Morgan State was giving you and what they weren't? Or is it, does that have to do more with either the abilities or comfort level of your quarterbacks or receivers?
Well, that's a good question. You know, Morgan State played a lot of cover three, you know, and the philosophy behind cover three, other than attacking with 4 verticals, is that you're keeping everything in front of you. And so you're going to take what they give you, and that's flats and curls and underneath routes. So partially it's the coverage that Morgan State played. And then, you know, I think that we're more of a ball control passing game than we are run by you and throw it deep. I think that's, and we'll see how everything unfolds. But I think so it's a combination of the two.
What was the philosophy during the lightning break? What did they do? Did you just game plan the entire time, or do you kind of let them take a break, or let them hit the shower, watch a movie? What's the
Yeah, no, those are really good questions. You know, I've been through, you know, several of these, and it's, you know, I'll tell you what I did. I brought them together on the field before we ever even went in, just to tell them, you know, what our philosophy was, because it's not something that we'd practiced. You know, we had the bubble, you know, so we've had plenty of lightning, and we go in the bubble. So, you know, just told them, because if you remember, we had the ball on the 1 yard line, and, you know, we're running tempo, and all of a sudden we're on the 30 with some, you know, pretty hard running, and all of a sudden, you know, you got this natural basketball timeout, right, a momentum timeout that the football gods bestowed upon Morgan State. And the difficult thing about weather delays is that nobody knows how long they're going to last. You know, and so, you know, tried to let our guys know that too, that they say it's 30 minutes, right? So it's 30 minutes, but I've never been in one that's lasted 30 minutes. I mean, when has there just been one lightning strike? You know, so every time, you know, they've got all the technology now, but every time that there's a lightning strike within, you know, the radius that by NCAA rule that you shut the game down, you restart the clock. And so, you know, you just got to be real careful saying, hey, guys, we're back out here in 30 minutes. You know, we didn't do that. We said, look, you're going to go in. We're going to chalk things up. We'll let you know. The first thing is get off your feet and relax. We'll let you know when, you know, we'll start warming you back up. And that was going to be at the 15-minute mark, and made sure that we had food and, you know, Gatorade and water, and we're taking care of that. And, you know, so then, of course, you're going to be making adjustments, but try to keep, you know, you can't sit there and have this intensity about you, because, again, it could have lasted for 2 hours. But you have to have the ability to understand this scenario, and the team that was going to handle that the best was probably going to come out on top of the game, right? I mean, the ball on our, I think, 36-yard line, 1st and 10, up by 3 with 9 minutes and 14 or 17 seconds left. So, you know, I thought our guys handled it well, and, you know, you've got to be able to flip the switch when it's time to go again. And felt as though they did that.
How long was the longest lightning delay you've been part of?
Gosh, back in 2002, I've never been a part of one when they called a game, but in 2002, and this did not happen tonight, and I again tip my hat to the administrators who managed the whole thing, where we went out, right, and then like in the stretch, and then had to go back in. You know, it's one of those deals where that's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
So. I don't know, it felt like it was, you know, a couple hours, but I don't know for sure back in 2002.
Any final questions for Coach Creighton?
Hey, appreciate you guys sticking out through the delay, you know, and being here. I mean, this is a big deal for us, and you guys have been, you know, covering us, and we appreciate it.